This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, here on July 6th, 2022, 2 days away from my 50th birthday. I just got done an 8-hour shift at the hospital. I was like, how do you wind down? Well, you wind down by interviewing my guest today. She is, and I love this title, a certified kink
aware professional.
I knew I was going to screw that up.
CCAP is not that hard, if you know, but it's been a certification for the last, about 8 years, 9 years. So I've been certified since 2017.
I've never been certified. Except to own my cat. And he's over, runs away. He said, keep me away from this conversation.
Perfectly fine, because I'm definitely allergic. So I would probably be choking, sneezing, dying.
Well, Skittles is fixed. So he's like, I have no balls. So it's like, I don't know anything about this. Just give me treats. You know what? I got to introduce my guest, folks. Folks, we have the very lovely Angelique Luna. Is that that's
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
I like that. Angelique. Is that your real name or a handle?
It's my pseudonym. Yes. It's a handle.
I like
course.
it. Well, you know what? I like it. Angelique. I like that. Where did you come up with that?
Oh, a long time ago, before Johnny Depp did the remake, it was called Dark Shadows. One of the lead characters' name was Angelique.
Okay. I know there's Angel in there and then Leak,
Yeah.
Okay.
En français, Angelique.
There you go. There you go. Well, before I get into this deeper and our connection, please give me a little bit of your background and what led you to this path.
What led me to this path was the lack of communication between couples when it came to sex. And I was very protrude on I'm like, why? Sex is supposed to be healthy, a glorious, pleasurable act between consenting adults. So I have always been a swinger. So I've been a swinger for 25 plus years, bisexual. I'm actually in an open marriage. We've been together for 12 years, and we're actually celebrating our 10-year anniversary next Wednesday, going on the cruise. And we noticed that there was a lack of services to help the ethical non-monogamy community, the swingers, the polyamory, the BDSMs. They still need the same services as any other traditional person that we would go to get a therapist or a coach. It's like, hey, I need some help on, how do I manage my relationship? By the way, I'm a third, I'm a unicorn, and some people would just turn around and say, oh no, you're too fucked up. We can't help you. No. And I'm like, that's not fair. They still need help. So because of that, I decided to go down this rabbit hole and help people out and really be of service. So I have a podcast, actually 2 podcasts, Sex Positive Me and Date Night with the Lunas. Sex Positive Me is like, we talk about anything sexual to destigmatize the taboo about sex. Date Night with the Lunas is actually our adventures, what we've done, how to answer things, how to navigate the whole bisexual couple, open relationship, BDSM, polyamory. So, relationship anarchists is what we prefer to call ourselves, because I just went down every title that we go through. So it's to be of service, to help others. And that's why I did this. And of course, I get to go to fun conferences and meet fun people like yourself and talk about sex and just make it more comfortable and not such a taboo to say the word sex. Oh my God, you just had sex. I'm like, yeah.
It's becoming bad, because we just heard about the whole Roe versus Wade situation overturned. And it's like, first off, I'm a pro-choice person, but here's the thing. I've never wanted kids. Never wanted kids, had no desire for them. I got a cat. I'm lucky to take care of my cat,
Are you sure the cat's not taking over and taking care of you? because I've seen that. I've seen the cats take
Well, he
over.
certainly isn't cleaning the apartment up. I know that.
That's your job as a human. Remember, you're supposed to worship them.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I love my kitty. But I'll tell you this. Like, I grew up in the church, and I believe in my Bible and stuff like that. But I always have one major issue with the fact that through all the sermons I've been to, the Song of Solomon, I've only heard preach once. And
I
that's the
wonder
sex,
why.
that's the sex, and there's no mention of procreation. And it's like, oh, we don't want to talk about that. Song of Solomon, turn the channel off of, turn the volume down on the Song of Solomon. There's no procreation in that at all. And I'm extremely turned off by the fact, and the Catholic Church is guilty of this as well, because I think I heard somewhere, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, that the Catholic Church doesn't believe in birth control.
Remember, religion is dictated by man to control man, humans.
Well,
So,
they're not controlling me, I'll tell you that.
well, it's like, yeah, because I was born and raised Catholic, and I am a practicing Catholic still, but my husband's a recovering Catholic. But yeah, they create all these laws in order to control humans. Like the whole reason priests are not allowed to marry is because back in the turn of the century, we're talking like 17s, 1800s, 1600s, they did not want priests to get married, because then when they get married, they have children, then their children inherit their land. So in order to stop that, we stop them getting married. That's the whole reason priests are not allowed to get married, is
If you're a priest listening right now, fuck the Catholic Church, get married. There you go.
All religions that has whatever stipulations and laws in order to control your happiness and your pleasure. Period.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I got this. I'm pretty sure they're not going to force that on me.
You'll be surprised. It's like, yeah, this whole Roe versus Wade is really getting us up in a tinsy, but at the same time, it concerns me because it leaves so much language open to dismantle other laws and change things. So right now, we're looking at possibility of the LGBT same-sex marriage being dismantled. We're looking at the fact that interracial couples may lose their privilege to be married after the loving family who went to jail fought for interracial marriage to get married in the 60s. These are things, and that's one of my concerns, because my husband's white, I'm Mexican. Who says that they're not going to come in after our marriage because we're interracial because of these laws? So it's one of those, like, we have to go and vote and change.
You know what?
Mm-hmm.
God created people. He created the rainbow. You want me to tell you something special about the rainbow? Not only was it come up after the flood, but it's all different colors. The rainbow is. He made people all different shapes, sizes, and colors.
Absolutely. And have you ever seen the show American Gods?
I haven't, no.
Oh my God. I love it. There's a scene with Ostra, and the goddess of Easter and love. And well, because people have forgotten about her, she tags along as Easter, celebrating Jesus. And there's a scene where there's all these different types of Jesus: baby Jesus, Mexican Jesus, Black Jesus, brown Jesus. I mean, all these different Jesus. And I laugh because if God made Jesus' son into one color, why is there so many different representations of him?
Well, we all have 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 arms, 2 legs, a nose, eyes, mouth, ears, you name it. We all have those. We're just different color. It'd be like complaining about the label on this bottle not look like the label on another bottle. It's still got water in it,
It's still the same bottle. It's just a different sticker with a different sticker price.
Exactly, So I never got that. To me, I think people are people. I work at the hospital. I have coworkers who are Korean. I have a coworker who's from the Congo, you know, and I have coworkers who are white. I have no problem working with any of them.
Mhm.
And I have supervisors who are female. I have no problem taking a task from them. Um, so that's never been my issue. I think I like to treat people as equally as I can. But going back to the whole church thing, it's like here's an issue. Here's the issue, and this ticks me off. I remember I was on this site. It was called Movie Guide because they're a bunch of assholes. They're the people that put 4 stars on movies like Fireproof, and they think Kirk Cameron's the greatest actor, period. Yeah, I rolled my eyes too. Yeah. And I forget how the discussion came up, but the whole thing about abortion came up, and I weighed in on this. And one of these idiots, and that's what I'm going to call them, idiots, said to me, he said, Greg, you're are you saying that your mother should have aborted you? So let me get this straight. Because my mom had me, I'm supposed to have kids. Does that make sense to you?
Not at all. Not at all.
But that's the mentality of these idiots. And here's what comes down to. Unless you're having kids, sex is viewed as something dirty.
Right. Right. I
That
think my favorite is that you're supposed to wait until you get married to have sex. But my problem is, it's like, so you're expecting me to do these crazy wild things when I have no idea what the crazy wild things are supposed to be. I have no idea what to
Yeah,
do
but they don't want you to do anything crazy and wild.
or understand
They
their
they they want
body.
they want you to get the wife pregnant so they can
Right.
say, "Oh, good, you have purpose to it." I
It's so
hate
much.
that so much.
It is. It's just like, God bless me. I only had one child, and
Hmm. Yeah, but you
that
chose to though.
I did, but afterwards there were so many dumb mistakes and complicated mistakes that I did that at the end, I mean, I'm grateful to have her. She is my mini me, but she was sexually abused by her paternal grandfather.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So I felt at that point I should not have, I decided never to have another child after that because of all that chaos. And I trusted this person. And it's like, if I knew that that was going to happen, I would have chose not to have children at all because I don't want that burden. I don't, and I did, and I helped her and put her in therapy. A lot of people don't believe in therapy. And I'm like, dude, she
I've
would have been
had a
fine.
therapist before.
Dude, I've been in therapy since I was 15. So,
Yeah.
hey, that's why, because when I insisted that my daughter be in therapy from the child services, they kind of looked at me like there was something wrong with me. And I'm like, what? The child's gone through a trauma. Once I went through the therapy process with them, I understood why they looked at me like a three-headed dragon, was because all the other parents refused and they were fighting. And I was the one fighting to get the service while everyone else was fighting not to do the service.
By the
So,
way,
yes, ma'am. Sir.
for people watching, I'm a certified therapist today. She's paying me a lot to listen to her.
Yes, that $30,000 that I've invested to clean up that mess on my daughter. Yes, yes.
You know what though? But
Mhm.
I fought like I said, I've always been a little intimidated of sex. I'm not afraid to say it because you hear the whole thing of birth control not working or condom breaking or something like that. And I think it dates back to when my older brother got his first girlfriend pregnant. And I was the first one that heard about it. And sex is something, of course, I get turned on by, but it's not something I greatly get involved with because, and I think it all stemmed from, I don't know whether my brother didn't pull out or what the story is, but And then I hear all this stuff and that stuff, and so I've been kind of like pulling away from that. It's like I always have a good attitude about it. I always say, well, uh, I always say women can't pick any worse than me. But I joke about it, I don't think I'm that bad, but I don't really get involved, and that is why. And it's I never wanted kids, and but I get, and it's almost hard to turn it off when you get authority or religion trying to force this or force that. I can see where a sexual activity can be looked down upon if it's harming somebody.
But who is it harming if it's two consenting adults enjoying themselves and they negotiate it and that's what they've
Well,
decided to
if
do?
they've negotiated, then it's not harming them.
No, it's not. And that's where when outside people look at it, that's where I tell my coaching clients, I'm like, look, don't pay attention to the outside world. They're not in your bedroom. They're not paying your bills. They're not the ones giving you your happiness.
Well, they
You
can
have
pay
to,
my bills if they want.
yeah, at that point, they can if they're going to dictate it, but you're paying my bills, but they're not. So guess what? It's F you, go away.
Hmm. Well, let's move on to happier things.
Yes.
Tommy Kovac is the one that connected me with you. I could tell by the way you're laughing, because Tommy Kovac, I've known him for a while. I never personally met him, but he's a podcaster. He's the host of Splat from the Past.
Mhm.
And I was recently on his show. I felt right now, I think he's a little intimidated to do Zoom, but you know what? After lockdown and I couldn't get in the station to do this is actually kind of nice to schedule this and just sit at my apartment to do this. It's kind of nice,
I
you
know we got
know?
3 studios in our house.
There you go. You can run back and forth.
Yeah, we,
But
we do a lot of different filmings. That's why we have 3 studios.
oh, there you go. But I mean, Tommy, God bless him, but boy, he can have a dirty mind sometimes, that guy. Some of the jokes I heard from him, and I like him. He's a very daring. He's probably a lot more daring than I am. How did you connect with him?
Probably the same way you did through Facebook, social media,
Yeah,
Twitter. So yeah, he kind of reached out because of Sex Positive Me, and he asked me to be on the show, and that was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago at this point. And
yeah.
so I've been on there a couple of times there. And one interview, yes, he was manually masturbating during our
Oh,
interview.
was he? I only got this. This is the
Yeah,
only thing I have.
it's water disguised as vodka.
I promise you, I'm not gonna masturbate during this.
See, happier times. You're talking. You owe
God
Philip a
bless you,
very
Tommy Kovac. If you're watching this, God bless you. I love you, man. But Tommy's an interesting character, and I've known him for a long time, and we'd always back and forth. Actually, I messaged him today saying that you'll go be on in less than an hour, and he put a thumbs up, and but I asked him a lot about this because I said, we're going to get talking about cuckolding in a minute, because I had some author. That's just a subject I'm curious about. I'm single, so I'm not involved in it, and I'm not a bull, as they want to call it. That would be funny. Like, gee, you're the last person on earth. You're like Roddy Piper in Hell Comes to Frogtown. You're the last one. But I can't get. And I've read some cuckolding erotica.
Mhm.
Some good, some not so good.
Right.
And when they're not so good, I don't read all through. But I can't get any of these friggin' authors to come on the show. And what's funny is one person said that, I feel a little intimidated or blah, blah, blah about being interviewed. I'm like, your books are out there on Amazon. What's it going to matter? but
Oh my
none,
God, that's just hysterical.
it is hysterical, So I'm like, okay, you don't want to be interviewed. And I've heard that from one male author in this and one female author in this. So I'm like, okay, because I'm just curious. But nonetheless, going back to Tommy, because we're going to get to Dale Hilton here in a minute. Some stuff I'm going to blow your mind with some of the stuff he's told me.
Okay.
But Tommy Kovac, I gotta ask this because I didn't ask him this. What's the weirdest thing you guys talked about? Because
Oh
I know
God.
my imagination goes places.
Yeah, we've talked, you know what? It's like so much. I can't think what's weird because now I think it's normal.
Okay. Well, when I say weird, I'm not being insulting, but you
No,
know what I
no,
mean.
but it gets to the point in my line of work, what the rest of society thinks is weird, I normalize it. I make it very normal in regards to what is it going on. And I think a lot of his like conversations, his jokes, I mean, those are the weird ones because they sometimes come out of left field and they sometimes they don't make sense to me, but ching.
Well, Tommy Kovac is great, and but I interviewed a comedian named Dale Hilton. Love this guy. He's got a great relationship with his mom.
Mhm.
They have a YouTube channel called Hey Metal Mom because they're both into heavy metal music.
Okay.
Yeah, but Dale used to be one of the drivers for escorts. Like he'd take them to the
Mhm.
spot and then he picked them up. And I asked him, I said, did they ever tell you about their experiences? And I asked because I didn't care about the sex. I said to him, I said, what's the strangest thing you heard of? Because up at that time, I think the strangest thing I heard of was the whole adult baby guy that wants his girlfriend to put him in diapers and stuff like that. I've always found that amusing. And I did watch Attack of the Adult Babies, where I actually saw it's actually a horror comedy where I actually saw a woman killed by being smothered in diaper shit.
Oh Lord.
That's a new one for me. But nonetheless, I thought that was the strangest until I talked to Dale Hilton, and he said, I got stranger. Okay. Well, are you ready for this?
Oh, I am bracing for it.
Dale Hilton said this escort come back to the office or whatever, and she said, "You know what this guy paid me to do?" And he goes, "What?" And he goes, "He paid me a large sum of money to beat him with raw chicken."
Yeah. It would have been funnier if it was a rubber chicken, but a raw chicken, I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, I had Dale Hilton on again, and he said, "You want to hear more?" I thought, so you got more? You could top that? I don't know if he did top that because that one was certainly the funniest. That would be
Mhm.
something that would do great in a comedy. You could see somebody like Rob Schneider in one of those Deuce Bigelow movies being beat with a raw chicken. It's like, get me
Oh,
out of here, get me out of here. But he said another one was this guy paid this woman to shit in a frying pan.
scat play, very common. Mhm.
Not something. Well, Skittles, my cat knows he knows I don't like him shitting anywhere but that litter box. Not where I like to play, not shit. But
Or cook.
nonetheless, yeah, well, I don't remember whether it said the guy fried that up or not, but I'm like, I don't know where people come up with this stuff. So let's lead into that.
Mhm.
Where do you think this stuff originates with people?
It's something that turns them on. It is some chemical balance. And it's like, I dislike the theory that it was because it's created from some kind of trauma. It's not. It's just what arouses us, what interests us. It's just psychologically turns us on, because one thing we always forget as humans is that the brain is the largest sexual organ possible. So for a woman, you really got to jumpstart that. And that's why we take anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes longer than when it takes a guy to get aroused. And it is a matter of like, what pique your interest? What is it that I desire? Sometimes it's even like relinquishing power. Like you could be a CEO, an alpha personality, always being in charge all the time. And at the end of the day, you're like, fuck it, I want someone else to take care of it. I want someone else to take care of me. I don't want any responsibilities. And that's where a lot of these fetishes or experiences people are looking for, just looking for some kind of release. And sometimes, as you could see, it doesn't have to be penetrated sex. It's just some kind of like activity. I think my husband has a fear of clowns. So anytime we get invited to like a clown party, he's like, nope, peace out. I can't. I'm like, but they're just in this, like he grew up with it. He's like, no, I'm traumatized with Pennywise. I'm like, fine.
What about it? What about killer clowns from outer space?
Oh, hell no. If he can't handle like just it, or even like Bozo the clown, he just freaks out. He's like, no,
What
no,
about,
no.
did you hear?
Oh,
I gotta get this guy on the show, because somebody had sent me his information and I'd love to interview this guy. Okay, here's the story. This guy had put me in touch with, I don't know who she was, some adult star named Lollytops.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. He said, will you interview her? And I haven't had her on yet. She's never responded. And he says to me, he contacts me again. He says, Greg, he says, I don't know if you'll get Lollytops unless you have her friend on with her. His name is Pervy the Clown. And
I
I'm
think
sitting
I've
there,
seen him.
and I'm sitting there thinking, I want to interview Pervy the Clown. What forget Lollytops? I want to interview Pervy.
Yeah, I think I've seen him over in Exotica. I think I have. Oh my God, that's so funny.
I find that friggin' fun. I want to interview Pervy the Clown.
Yeah, that's so much more impressive. Because I'm like,
Nothing against Lollytops, but he approached me like, well, you might not get her unless you have him.
It's like, forget her. I want him. I want to hear the story.
I want to hear this. Pervy the Clown. Okay.
Now, how do they do the show together, or what is it? Is it a porn? What, I'm curious now. I mean, now you got my,
like, that stuff fascinates me, and I'm not saying that to sound to the right wing perverted.
Oh.
It's just fascinating, the psyche,
Mhm.
like so I guess your husband is not a fan of the wrestler Doink the Clown.
He's not. No. We actually have a really good friend that does. Well, pre-COVID, used to host clown orgies, and it just was so amazing and so much fun. And it's like, I got to go solo because he can't do it. And I'm just like, so.
Okay,
But I'm
what
always figuring
happens at the clown orgy? I gotta hear this. What happens?
just let your imagination go wild. Everyone's dressed up. They're playing with each other's props. They're playing with balloons and latex animals, and it's just, hands-on, cuddly, touchy. Yeah, it's an experience.
So your husband's afraid of Krusty the Clown?
Oh yeah, totally.
What about Ronald McDonald?
All of the above. It's all of the above. It's just like, I was actually surprised he could handle Grimace. I was like, really? He can handle Grimace, because he doesn't look like a AKA clown, but not Ronald.
Isn't it? It's kind of funny, because when I grew up, clowns were supposed to be a cheerful thing to entertain. It's weird that they got this now dark turn to them.
They've always had a dark turn, because
I never saw them that way. It's funny.
Well, you just said killer clowns from outer space. It also,
yeah, but Killer Clowns from Outer Space is hilarious. Didn't you see it?
Yes, I did. But I agree with you. I am telling you, just the horror, the psychology of like a clown coming after you and killing you. Also, Poltergeist. You had all those toys. Come on. It's just, again, it's working with the psychology of the human mind. It's like, what triggers it? What gets that response? Every person's different.
Well, you know what? The female wrestler Eve Torres, she's afraid of clowns apparently too. I heard that. So, and her, I thought she for sure she'd win in a fight against Doink. He Slater
Boy?
beat he
Yeah.
Slater beat Doink. I mean, he Slater beats nobody. He beat Doink.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's fascinating. A clown orgy.
Mhm.
You know, that is kind of funny. But yeah, Dale Hilton told me some interesting stories there. I have no interesting stories outside of what was shared with me, other than, anything I read online. I would love to see them. And of course, I know the MPAAs get a frown on everything, but I can you not see a comedy is similar in the style of The Hangover, where you got 4 or 5 different guys that have different fetishes, and somehow there's a story interlinked with that, with women or whatever, or their conquest with relationships, or revealing that, or something of that nature. I think that would be hilarious if done right.
If done right, exactly. It can't just come up with everything looks great, the actors look great, the background, everything. But if the script sucks, that ruins the movie. Hence Jurassic World Dominion.
Oh, I haven't seen it. I've seen every Jurassic Park movie but that one. Here's what I'm going to say. Why do I put myself through it? Because they've never been any good since the first one.
The
Never.
last one, just wait until it's on regular broadcast TV, not even on demand, pay-per-view or cable, free.
Are there
And
clowns
even
in it?
that. No, I wish they would probably improved it.
No clowns in Jurassic. But no, I decided to go see Black Phone instead. So, I got better taste. But it's just like Jaws. After the first one, it's like they suck.
Don't you mean Sharknado?
Oh, jeepers, Sharknado. Well, the first one was bad. I mean, Jaws was great.
But that's a sci-fi original. It has to be bad. To it make 6 movies of it, it had to be super good. I mean, seriously.
Well, they haven't made a sequel to The Room yet.
There's a movie called that. I don't know.
Tommy Wiseau. He was my first guest.
Sorry.
James Franco played him in The Disaster Artist. Yeah, you're hanging your head. You're hanging your head. One of the things I also find funny too, and I actually wish these were done with a higher budget, but the titles are great. Porn parodies. Oh
They're
my
always
goodness.
fabulous. I love it. Sometimes they're better than the real movies. I've noticed that some poor parodies are better than the real ones.
Well, speaking of The Room, there's The Bedroom, there's Foreskin Gumps, Bonan the Barbarian.
Classic right there.
Yeah, the Beaverly Hillbillies, DF the Mighty Fox. Oh my cow. Holy cow, I'm trying to think,
Oh, there's so many. I'm just like, I'm blank right now.
Patriot Dames. I'm like, somebody's got A Nightmare on Dyke Street. And Friday the 13th, A Nude Beginning. Like, I'm like, somebody's got some time on their hands.
Someone has some money to pay for those, because those are not cheap productions, because those are actually quality productions compared to nowadays on OnlyFans. You could go and find stuff. Yes.
I find that funny. And then, I haven't rented any of these, but I have seen them. And just, I was in one of these stores one night, and I must have spent a good 30 minutes just looking at the titles. And then on the back, they always have some actor with. There was one on Ace Ventura, and the guy's got this really bad Ace Ventura wig on.
Oh God. God. I think I prefer Jim Carrey when he was on Living Color than versus afterwards.
I don't know. I love Dumb and Dumber. I love the Truman Show, but but nonetheless, do you have a favorite porn parody?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
I don't either. I haven't watched them, but I do know of them. But anyway, nonetheless, let's I want to get into one thing I find fascinating is cuckolding.
Mhm,
And I think there's two things that led me into the curiosity of this.
mhm.
Number one, as I say, I hate these frigging uh Christian movies like Fireproof.
Did you watch it? Because you're referencing that a lot.
I haven't watched it, no, but I've seen scenes from it, and I know exactly how it ends because it's predictable as fuck. Kirk Cameron and his wife are going to end up back together again because that is how it's supposed to happen. But there
No,
was a
but
point.
okay.
There was a point in the movie where, because their marriage was in trouble. So there's a point in the movie where, because his wife was a doctor,
Mhm.
and there's a male doctor he might lose her to. And being a cheaply written script, not that the assholes at Movie Guide would know, because bias fuckers, but nonetheless, as cheap as it is, there was a part in the movie where where she decides to go back to Kirk, and he opens up his drawer and pulls out a wedding band that he had off, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh, so he was married all this time, and you're just telling us that now? You know what a smart screenwriter would do? A
He's
smart
not
screen
Christian?
Actually, a smart screenwriter would have made the viewer think that she cheated, but she actually didn't. That way, you get a little more emotionally involved. And then when the reveal happens, where, oh, no, didn't happen. But no, they didn't go there. And I think that was the first time I actually looked up what cuckolding was. After that, I was so pissed off at that movie, and of course these idiots giving these poor quality movies 4 stars. Trust me, it's shit. You
Are you
know,
sure Kirk Cameron did not give them some money to give them the 4 stars? Because that's the only way I could see that happening to have 4 stars.
probably. The only thing I could think of, it wouldn't be Fireproof if I got hold of it, because I'd stick it out there in the dumpster in the flames. And I'd say, hey, movie guide, take this, assholes.
Mhm.
Yep. But nonetheless, then I heard somebody I have a lot more respect for, Howard Stern. Howard Stern had I love Howard Stern, by the way, but he had, I can't think of what the show was, but I believe he had a stripper or somebody of that nature on the show.
Mhm.
And the conversation trailed into, do you have a boyfriend? She had a boyfriend.
Mhm.
And asked, how's he feel about this and blah, blah, blah. And it got me thinking about the mindset of, your, and I'm not saying it from a negative standpoint,
Mhm.
because if you're still with her, obviously, you're like, going there and watching and, oh, gee, I'm going to spy on her or whatever. But um, I've always been fascinated with that mindset, what it does inside his psyche. And then I started digging into the subject of cuckolding.
Mhm.
And I will admit, I got some of the novels here. And some of them I am getting rid of because you can always tell which ones are poorly done. And you can tell which ones are done from a very realistic standpoint. I like the
Mm.
ones done from a realistic standpoint. And I'm not talking sexually. I'm talking about where you can get inside the character's mind
Mhm.
and be able to get involved in the story. And what was it? I'm trying to think of the name of the author. I'll go bring him up here because he's done 2 books and he's got 3 coming. Let me see. Oh, David McManus.
Okay.
And he did a book called let me see, because I want to bring up the first one here because I got the second one up here. Okay. Oh, Reluctant Cuckold.
Oh, sounds kinky.
It was interesting. It was interesting. And it even drew me in because it's not sappy and it's not all sex, sex, sex. And he followed that up with Cuckstorm Horizon, which took the story even further. And I enjoyed that one. I'm waiting now for Cuckold Uncharted, which is supposed to be the 3rd one. I don't know when that's coming out, to see where this goes. But it's all done from the point of view of the husband. And stuff that he hears that overwhelms him with jealousy about his wife's past, and how it ends up, and it's strange when jealousy turns into a turn on. And the way it's written plays on that. I found it to be an interesting read. And like I said, I'm waiting for the 3rd book. So you mentioned I'm going to screw up the name. Yeah, couples. How often do you encounter people that are into a cuckold relationship?
Very not in polyamory itself, but others. I do have a couple of clients, and also I have some clients that I do assist with that because their wife or girlfriend does not want to be part of it, and I would partake in that because it's just that fantasy, that reality. Now, cuckolding also includes degradation, humiliation play in it. What is something similar where some people get confused, it is hot wifing.
I know that term, yeah.
Yes. So some people think it's the same, and it's like, no, the humiliation and the degradation is what makes it different with cuckolding, because it's the same thing. You're seeing your partner, your wife, or girlfriend having sex with someone else, but at this point they're saying, look how tiny you are, how you humiliated me. It's like, you can't satisfy me like he gets out. So they get off on that humiliation, because one of my clients, that they were like strong and secure, and they had responsibilities and everything, but inside they just wanted to be humiliated and degraded because they were like too perfect, and they didn't feel satisfied being perfect. So by getting this degradation and humiliation, they just felt relieved. They felt like, I'm not perfect, I'm good, I'm human. Because and for me at first, I was just like, but you have a great life, why would you want to do this? But it was just the fact that they needed something else, something that was different than the norm, different than what his traditional life was. Like everywhere he was successful, he was, on a great father, a great partner, great mentor. He was doing all this, but he just did not feel fulfilled. But the minute he got into humiliation and degradation, and especially cuckolding, it is like finding that perfect spot to get that orgasm release, but there's no sexual contact whatsoever. It's just all in the mind, and just getting that, oh, this is just my freedom.
Another way that I haven't heard it phrased this way, but it's how I kind of thought about it, because I review movies as well. Seeing your wife or girlfriend, in the case and I thought about this when Howard Stern was interviewing the stripper and talked about, what does his boyfriend think? And it's like, and it's interesting, some of the responses of some of these males. It's like, seeing their wife be oogled by these guys,
Mhm.
or seeing their wife have sex with somebody, or even going someplace public and flirting. It's like they're watching a movie starring their partner. And they're,
Absolutely. I've
yeah,
heard that many of times with a lot of my clients. It is that, live porn, live action movie of seeing that and giving them like the confidence or like reassurance. It's like, yep, that's my girl, that, she belongs to me, but this is what she does. And she's happy and I'm happy, and it does take a lot of work in communications, because I've had couples that, they can't understand why you have to have this kink. Why do you have to do it? And it's just kind of working them together and communicating. Why is the turn on? What, it's not that they don't love you. It doesn't think that you're, degrading or something that's wrong with the relationship. It's just, like going out for dinner. You want a pepperoni pizza, but they want a vegetarian. How do you compromise? How do you work
how do I
together?
compromise? Pineapple. We'll have vegetarian, but it's got to have pineapple.
Pineapple.
Pineapple. I'll take pineapple. I don't care if the meat's on it. Pineapple. If there's no pineapple, I protest.
It's such a requirement, the pineapple, right?
I love pineapple on pizza. Pineapple and green pepper, my top two, and then any kind of meat,
Mhm.
But we had some pizza things where you could get two toppings for some kind of deal. To me, it's always pineapple and green pepper.
Mhm.
I like both, but I know we just went from cockholding to pizza.
That's how we teach our classes, honestly. We relate everything to food. Like I said, my husband's Italian, I'm Mexican. People understand food.
Kitty's over there. It's like, I'm not going over there, not with that talk. You know what though? But I find that fascinating. Now, here's a question.
Okay.
How does one broach the subject of, and I've read up on this and I've heard about even in these books. How does one broach the subject of cuckolding with their wife? Especially, like, and I've heard situations, like, my wife wouldn't do this, my wife would, or whatever. How does one broach that?
One, I tell the client, male, predominantly, but there's actually, I've been same sex have actually done the same thing, is that do the research, do everything possible, and really deep dive what gets you off, what turns you on, why you want to explore this. So it's like friggin' a research paper. Then sit down, talk to them and say, hey, I'm interested in this, not forcing them or anything else. Just say, hey, I'm interested in this, and give them all your research that you've done, all the stuff, documentations, things like that, and give them, I'm sorry, give them time to process and sit down and talk. So that way you're not jumping. Again, be prepared. Some partners are going to be straight, like, oh my God, no, 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 that's too crazy. That's, what would people think? Others would be like, okay. But that's where you kind of like have to approach them to say, hey, this is what I desire. This is what I want. And I want you to be part of it, but I want to make sure you're comfortable. So here is the information. Here is the reasons why I want to explore this, and especially with you.
Hmm. Have you encountered couples dealing with that communication where you've been told about it and he doesn't know how to approach his wife about it?
Yes, yes, I have. And sometimes I have been the mediator of that conversation because they're just scared shitless to even mention it. And that's where I kind of like break it down to like, okay, what is the desires that you want to feel? What is it, the experience? What are the emotions? We're not even talking about the physical aspects. Let's go
Hmm.
with the emotional and the psychological, because that's one thing I've noticed with a lot of, majority of my clients, is that they instantly act based on what other people are going to think about, than versus like, what is it going to make us feel in our relationship? What is the emotional fear that I have of doing this?
Okay. So, have you ever been there amongst a couple that you were coaching where the subject was brought up to the significant other, and you don't have to name names or anything, but how that went? Is it generally speaking, does it come out negative generally or positive?
Usually I need to have a fire extinguisher because it gets explosive.
Okay.
Because again, it goes into all the crazy negative emotions and thoughts and feelings. Like the number one issue is, no, you don't love me anymore. Like, what does love have to do with an action? We have to, that's one thing we have always compared together is sex and love as one. In reality, they're two different things. You can have sex with a person and not be in love with them. You can be married with a person and still be in love with them, but do sex with others. That's what swinging couples do oftentimes. They play with others. And that's where they think it's like, oh, you don't find me attractive. You want to just give me away. Or it's like, no, 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 no. It's the opposite. They do love you very much. They do want to be part of this fantasy. They want to go a little bit more exploratory in your sex life. It's not always the same, just, missionary position. They want other experiences. And for some, it's the cuckolding, saying, look, I just want to release. I don't want to always be patted on the back and saying, hey, great job kind of deal. No, I want you to degrade me, dehumanize me. So that way I know. And again, the psychology of the woman would be like, are you crazy? Why? It's like, you're my husband. I love you. I want to support you. It's like, but this is something that I enjoy.
You want me to tell you too, something that I've read up a lot of women don't understand, and I can understand their point of view too. I'm not blind to that, but I've heard the argument, well, if I'm cheating on you with some guy, you're going to use that as an excuse to cheat on me with some woman. But a lot of these guys don't
Yeah.
want to cheat.
No, they don't. They have no intention whatsoever. That's why, some people misconstrue the hot wifing and cuckolding.
Mm-hmm.
Because the hot wifing, they just go out on dates, they go on bulls, sometimes the husband or the boyfriend doesn't even see the actual action together, but they get so aroused about the fantasy going on how satisfied the wife is. And that's the thing. It's like, you have to understand, one person's fantasy does not mean that they don't love you anymore, that they're cheating on you, that they're going to use it against you. That's where I go in a lot with these couples and heavy negotiate and communicate with them all their fears, because it is a lot of fears at the beginning of this kind of relationship, because they don't know what the unknown may lead to. So they may think it's like, this is just going to break up our marriage, it's going to ruin it. And honestly, a good 75% of my couples that have gone into the cuckolding, their marriage are so much stronger and happier it is. And their communication skills, oh my God, it's just gone through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I implement a lot of the BDSM styles of communications and negotiations into those kind of relationships, because it's very thorough, very detailed about it, to see what's the clarity, what is the goal, what is the emotion, what's the experience you're trying to feel. Because people just automatically think it's just, penetrated sex and that's it. They forget the other contributing factors of psychology, mental, spiritual, and physical intimacy in regards to the connection, the emotional connection. A good chunk of couples that I see about cheating, it's emotional infidelity. It's not so much the sexual part, it's the emotional part. It's like, why did you do this? And it's like, well, you weren't emotionally giving what I needed, but you were also not communicating what is it that you were needing.
Okay. Yeah, I find that fascinating. One of the stories I heard, and this was in a book I actually found in a Chapters bookstore in the adult section. But one of the stories I heard was this guy that it wasn't even necessarily cuckolding, but it could certainly be related to it. His big fantasy was his wife would tie him up, leave him at the house or the apartment, and go out with the girls.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she'd come back, she'd tell him all about it. And you never know, they could have just went to a coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
But she'd come back and she would just tantalize him with whatever. And these are kind of like I said, it fascinates me, the mindset.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We could go hours on talking what your mind is stimulating and controlling. It's just, as I always say, as children, we had great, vivid imaginations. As adults, we forgot about it. But that's why we got to put the play back into our sex life. It's to get those imaginations. We had, use it, negotiate fantasies, talk about it, read erotica to each other.
Yeah. Speaking of which, where I review movies, there's a few movie. Number one, not a big fan of 50 Shades of Grey. However, I found 9.5 Weeks pretty interesting.
Oh, then you need to see The Secretary.
I have seen The Secretary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with James Spader.
Yep.
I've seen it. I've seen The Secretary, and I like it. But 9.5 Weeks, I think one of the things, number one, it's got a great Canadian soundtrack. That's never been brought up any time, because I got the soundtrack album and it's got like Corey Hart, Luba, and they got a lot of Canadian artists on there. Del Bello. I'm like, I wonder if that was a conscious choice, but have you seen 9.5 Weeks?
It's been many, many years.
Yeah, I like that movie. Of course, that's got Mickey Rourke and Kim Basinger, and of course he's the wealthy playboy, and she's somebody that you wouldn't think would be into, of course, into any of the style or control that he's into, and I found some of the bizarre stuff that he brought her into was interesting. It's got, like, for example, like when they get into a confrontation with some people in a drive-by car and they get chased by them, and they get into a fight with these people, and then they go off and they have sex in the stairwell where it's raining on them, and it's like they got off on that. Or one of the funniest to me, I can't watch the Newsbit song "Bread and Butter" without thinking of when they're at the refrigerator and he's like putting squirting. First, to start off with feeding her food with when she was blindfolded, and it's like they're rubbing honey all over. But that starts off with "Bread and Butter" by the Newsbit, and actually made it kind of funny because that song is not erotic.
It's not, but actually that is considering splashing. Splashing is having sex with food like that.
Yeah, not my thing.
Of course, yeah. Again, there's so many different fetishes out there that everything's like not my thing, but I have to make sure that I listen. I say it's normal, and
I have a charity challenge that involves a pie in the face, but that's for charity. That doesn't. although American Pie brought a meaning to that. Eugene Levy, we'll just tell your mother that we ate it all.
Yes. I'm like, yeah. You'll never see cherry pie ever again.
Nope.
I'm surprised they actually didn't put the song from Warrant, Cherry Pie, in that scene.
You know what? You're right. I'm surprised they haven't either, But yeah, splashing. Yeah, I don't want to wear food. But nonetheless, that was a pretty funny scene, and they had a bunch of other stuff too. Even Speaking of cuckolding, where Kim Basinger gets so pissed off at Mickey Rourke, she just storms off and he follows her, and she goes into this nightclub where they got all the leather and stuff like that, and she starts flirting with random guys to make him jealous. It's like, you know what, you've whipped the belt on the floor to get me to pick up money and stuff like that. I'm throwing it back at you. That film actually I thought was pretty intelligent, to be frank. 50 Shades didn't do it for me because I don't think the actor who played Christian Grey was very good, but
okay, the book itself, I always have to remind people, it is Twilight fan fiction made into a book.
Yeah, I heard that.
That's exactly what they did. From a fan board, they grabbed it. They said, this is good stuff. I'm like, whoever said that had no idea, because I've heard from both my literary friends, like from the publishing world, that's authors, and from the BDSM world, that is the biggest load of BS ever created. And it made billions. That was even before the movies. And even after, I was just like, I almost got kicked out of the movie theater, actually. I went to see it with one of my friends and I just kept laughing. Every like scene that it was supposed to be like intense, I just started laughing because I'm like, this is not real. And yeah, they almost asked me to leave the movie theater. It's like, my friend's like, shut up. I'm like, yeah, but this is not legit. It's not even realistic. I mean, give me something a little bit more, just.
This is where you turn to your friends and go, I think Minions is sexier.
Honestly, yes.
But nonetheless, 9.5 weeks, I think, did it intelligently. But there was also a lot of variety of stuff, but it wasn't about the sex either.
No, it was about the relationship.
It was about the relationship. And like I said, Mickey Rourke was great. Kim Basinger was great. And like I said, great Canadian soundtrack. I mean,
considering what, that's 1980 something,
86, 85, 86, something like that.
Yeah.
I was surprised how many Canadian artists are on that soundtrack. But that was the first time I heard Corey Hart's Eurasian Eyes. And I love that song, but every time I hear it now, I think of that movie, And Luba, I definitely think about that movie. She got 2 songs in that movie. But anyway, in your coaching, you say sometimes fireworks go off when you talk with these couples. How do you diffuse that and bring it down where there is a comfortable communication?
I try my very best to get them out of their emotional fear by asking them, it's like, what are you scared of? What is this grand fear of what may happen or what's going on? Because like I said, emotions click first before logic. And so for me, it's just trying to really tame down the emotional to get to the logical part. And it's sometimes they won't handle it. And then I'm like, look, we just need like a timeout, or we need to just reschedule, because this is something that we have to figure out. What are the challenges and fears and insecurities that you're having about this? Because
there is a risk, like because your partner could fall in love with the other person.
Right.
That is a risk.
Oh, that is totally the risk. And that's where we kind of go down. That's why I asked, let's go down your list and let's go down of the what can't or the what ifs. It's always the what ifs that everyone gets paranoid and crazy. I was like, okay, but let's work on the communication. So then when we come to the what ifs, we know how to handle it. At least we're prepared to that. So basically, I'm just like an added safety net to someone who's going into the cuckolding, because at least I'm walking them through and talking to them. Okay, this is what could happen. These are the situations. How do we handle it? What is it going to be like? One thing I tell all my coaching clients is if you're in an emotional distress, just say, hey, I need a timeout. Go to your separate corners, get a journal, write down everything that you're feeling, everything you're processing, and then go back and talk once all that crazy emotional angst, anger, frustration all happens, because then you're able to really talk logically than versus emotionally, because that's where a lot of the fights happen, because we just get so emotionally enraged. We're like, oh, why do you do this? You don't think I'm pretty? Don't you think? I'm like, on the contrary, everything you're saying is complete opposite of what they're saying. They're like, no, they think you're super hot, you're very beautiful, they want to share you, they want to see, how other men admire you, how they worship you, you're a goddess. And that is the philosophy of a lot of these cuckolders. And the women just don't understand that. And sometimes I have to put it in like kind of like a car model mentality. So yes, you have this beautiful 1957 Corvette that is like bright and shiny, but you want to showcase it. You want to take it out to the shows. You want to present it. You want other people to touch it and feel it and appreciate it. That's how most men are seeing these women, as that beautiful prize of the 1957 Corvette that they admire, they've taken care of. They want to share their beauty. Once I put it in that perspective, then some women are like, oh, because they see like a good majority of men have such a high standard when it comes to toys, such as cars and video games. I'm not very video game literate on that, but there is a whole coaching department. There's a whole certification program based on geek, on video games and things like that. So yes, it is finding that right therapist that's going to help you, or coach that's going to help you understand what your partner is seeing versus what you see. And it is, once I get them into that mentality of like, they got you on a higher pedestal than you do, what's your insecurity about it? For me, it's like, I would say the insecurity would be the guy would be like, oh, she's going to fall in love with him, he's going to treat her better, da, 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 da. But I'm like, they're not going to put the work in, they're not going to have the communication, and they're not going to figure out the jinx in it. If that does happen, how do we evolve this? Because maybe he still wants to continue the cuckolding, but maybe her new partner that she fell in love with doesn't. That's where you make the decision of, do you continue with your primary, or do you divorce and move with the new one? But even though you have something, that you built together, it is working out those kinks, working out the what if situations, and having a game plan for it.
Okay. You know what, to me, what would be, here's one thing. I avoid a lot of these books because it always seems to be the guy who sees his wife with a guy with a bigger dick, or bigger this, bigger that. Oftentimes black. I'm not sure I get that, but nonetheless, I have the Revenge of the Nerds kind of feel on it, because I remember I interviewed Julia Montgomery from the film, and she was the hot cheerleader that the nerds were crazy over, and of course she was dating the jock.
Of course.
And the cuckolding thing came to mind too, whenever they were pranking back, and of course the jock discovers that there's naked pictures of her, and they were spraying whipped cream on them in pans, and people were licking them off and whatnot. And the jock was like, what is this? What is this? And I'm like, to me, the ultimate cuckolding, by the way, when I brought this up to her, she said, yeah, that was great and all, except my father saw this. He didn't like it.
Of course. Which daddy wants to see the little girl like that? Oh my God. Oh my God.
Julia's such a trooper, I gotta say. She was a lot of fun to interview, and she loves Revenge of the Nerds, but I had to bring that scene up, of course. But nonetheless, to me, the ultimate cuckolding story is the jock being the one cuckolded by the nerd. And they always have it reversed in these stories, and it's like, what if the guy with the big dick is being cuckolded by the guy with the small dick, or the guy who's the nerd, or whatever?
Yeah. And I do have a couple of those reverse situations. which
Mhm.
I find fascinating because it wasn't the traditional media version of like it has to be bigger, better. I mean, I had one client that he had a good sized package,
Mhm.
but the guy that the wife chose to cuckold, he was smaller than the husband, which I
Yeah.
was like, oh. And I'm like, okay, and how did that feel? And they're like, it was great. It was just he did things different than what my husband did, and I enjoyed it, and he enjoyed it, and he also enjoyed being humiliated and degraded. And I'm like, but the thing was switched, but it was his release,
Yeah.
and he enjoyed it. He
I,
loved the
fi- I
degradation.
I find that fascinating. And another thing too, is the idea. I would never promote stalking anybody, but
No.
guys that are turned on by the idea of their wife with somebody else, but when she goes on a night with the girls or they happen to go to a club and he just secretly follows because he hopes to see this kind of stuff because he actually secretly likes it. I've read some of those in some of those books too.
Right. And I actually have some clients do that, but they negotiate it. They negotiate, they
Hmm.
know that that's happening. They know that the guy is actually in the bushes watching over, getting turned on. But that's part of their relationship dynamics. That is what they have agreed on. And it's like some of their friends think it's a little bit odd, but it is, that's what gets them off. And that's one thing that most people in society don't understand. You don't really need to have penetrative sex to have an orgasm or get a release.
Nope.
You don't need that. You could, because there are some people who are asexual who are not sexually, you know, into sex. They're not, they love everything else, but they still have a way to have an orgasm release without sex.
Yeah. And of course, again, it's that mindset, that it's like watching a movie,
Mhm.
and that could actually make the woman feel even better,
Mhm.
like she is like the star of this. Um, so I find all this stuff fascinating. Here is a question I have for my own personal.
Mhm.
Are there any movies that you know of that have cuckold themes?
No.
And I don't mean adult movies. I
No,
mean,
just in general, because I always try to refer a movie that I think is well done for people to go and watch and have a better understanding. But I have not found any, not, adult parody or adult porn or even like, um,
no,
what do
I
you
mean
call it?
something that you'd see at a theater, like a
Right,
rom-com
right.
or something like
Yeah,
that.
no,
Yeah.
no, nothing like that. I know, because I need resources like that to give to my clients and say, hey, go check out so and so and go watch this. They're like, yeah, no. So
Yeah. Because again, I think that would be a great idea for a movie as well.
I think so too. Work on the psychology part of it,
I
because
think
people don't understand psychology takes a big part of your sex life.
okay. I want to ask you about some of these other things too, because straight up sex is just boring,
Yes.
but some of this other stuff is just fascinating. When we mentioned the Kim Basinger, Mickey Rourke 9.5 week, you say it's called splashing.
Splashing with the food. Yes. The way
Do you have
just have
clients that are into that?
I no, I don't have personal clients on that, but I've gone to events of that. So, like I said, with my career choice, I get to go to these beautiful conferences that have exposed me to so many different things that I'm like, okay, not my kink, but okay.
How much of
I'm
a
not.
mess do they leave in that conference room?
It's they actually came with their own tarp. They came with their tarp, so that way they didn't have that much of a mess to do. Because normally when people do splashing, they have like a tarp or cover or something that they're able to, take up, hose down, throw out, whatever. Yeah, it's a
Sounds
whole
like that scene.
preparation.
Sounds like that scene in Horrible Bosses where
Oh my God, yes, yes, I know what you're talking about.
I thought was, oh my goodness. For anybody who hasn't seen, I love the movie. They want to kill their bosses, and they're meeting at this private place. And Charlie Day said he went under and said, "This guy's just what we need." And apparently went onto a site, not realizing, we are a man looking for a man. They went onto a freaking dating site, and the guy came in there and he thought they wanted to be pissed on, because I really stored up an awful lot of piss for this.
It's like, no. Yeah.
I thought that was so funny. Anyway, getting off of that, have you had clients that are into, this is not one of mine, but nonetheless, speaking of pissing and shitting, have you had clients that are into that?
Into water sports and scat play, yes.
Yeah.
That's the proper name of the fetish.
Water sports?
Mm-hmm.
When I think of water sports, I think of that scene in Caddyshack where all the boats are flying up in the air. Rodney Dangerfield says, "I almost got hit by Amelia Earhart."
Exactly. Nope.
That's what I think of water sports.
Well, now you're gonna think, yes, they call like peeing on someone, it's water sports. Yes.
Why is it called water sports?
What, it's water and it's sporting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's when you're looking at dating profiles, or especially if they're like, if you're on FetLife and they're like, I'm into scat play, water sports, that means you're looking to be pissed and pooped on.
Okay. Talk about, again, don't mention names, clients you've had that had to introduce their partner into that. Is it, I gotta think now, correct me if I'm wrong, introducing a woman to being pissed and shit on it's got to be hard.
I have not had that level of clientele, so I'm very happy with that.
Except unless you're Mia Kirshner in Not Another Teen Movie. I guess she wanted somebody to take a dump on her chest, but they didn't show that.
They didn't show any of that, but yes, yeah. And then if you see it on the regular TV, they censor that. So yeah.
I would hope so.
It's not like the 70s where you could get away with a lot more.
Yeah, pink flamingos. Enough said.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I would wonder how you would coach somebody in that area.
I am blessed to this day not to have it. And now watch, after your podcast, someone's going to call me up for that. I'm like, oh, great. That's it. It's all Greg's fault now. Now I have to figure this out.
Again, one of the funniest I heard of prior to Dale Hilton was the diaper fetish. I hear actually of what was it?
I don't know. Is it the diaper fetish or sissification?
I don't know. I don't know these terms you're throwing at me. I just know it's about guys that get off on their girlfriend or wife putting them in diapers.
Okay, there is that, but there's also sissification is dressing up as a baby or dressing up as the opposite sex and being sissified. So like baby dolls. So a good chunk of sissification men do wear the diapers, and there are adult diapers available with like the little babies have the diaper covers. They're even for that. They're dressed up in frilly, girly, pinkish or very girly outfits with bibs and headdress. So there's a whole line of sissification. Again, it's the humiliation, the degradation, the release, not being in control, giving someone else the control of your life and dictating and looking for that, how a child's like, good little girl, good little boy, you did such a great job.
Now, have you had clients come in that are into that?
Yes. And that was like kind of like a crash course for me. I actually had to reach out to one of my dominatrix friends that's her specialty. I'm like, how the hell do I do this? It's like, I need to understand the psychology of this because I'm not getting it. So yeah, it was, they just wanted to basically give it up to the man. They wanted to do something that society says that it's bad, but it feels so good to them. That's what it boils down to.
Okay. Now, how did the guy in this relationship bring this up to to his wife or girlfriend.
A lot of the sissification clients,
Uh-huh.
their partner does not know. They do
Oh,
not know about.
really?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Now,
It's still that shame, still that fear. I know, I think out of like the couple clients I have, maybe one, possibly two have like a don't ask, don't tell. It's like, go do your thing, come back happy. We don't talk about it. So
okay.
yeah, like they'll do like a weekend getaway. They'll go like gone for a couple hours. I know that my friend, she like flies out to a major city once a quarter and has like clients lined up because it's a male dominated city that, you know, very alpha. It's like, we don't do this, rah, 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 kind of
Uh-huh.
testosterone thing. And they just love it. They just love dolling up, wearing heels and pantyhose and diapers and bibs. And yeah, there's a whole little line. So that was new, and that was a different psychology that I had to understand of why they enjoy going opposite the normal society trends of, you know, this is what a man's supposed to look like. This is how they're supposed to feel. Rah, rah, rah.
Did your dominatrix friend beat somebody with raw chicken?
No, I think she'll draw the line there. But she did it with a Mickey plush. So hey.
Okay. So you
Take it
say
to
her
Disney.
specialty is putting guys in diapers?
Sissifying them, yes.
So
Dressing them
how
up.
did she get into that? Like what out of
That's her whole story. That's a
that's her
whole
whole
different.
story.
Yeah.
Again, I'm trying to understand her psyche there,
Hmm.
you know? Because again, like you said, the psyche and the brain. Okay, I've talked about some interesting things. I want to go into Dale Hilton territory with you.
Okay.
What things have, because I want to see if you could blow my mind here. I want you to try to blow my mind here, like Dale Hilton did. What has clients brought up to you that's like, to you, you're not judging them, but the strangest thing you've heard?
Okay. Not a client,
Okay.
but the strangest thing that has happened to me that I've seen that freaked me out compared to everything else that I've done
Uh-huh.
was I went to a erotic book conference.
Okay.
So all these erotic writers, things like that. And
Mhm.
I was intrigued because it was like supernatural, military. There was even like a PTA and doctor book. I was like, how is this even erotica? I'm like, okay, some crazy stuff. The women are so sexually repressed. It scared me because I saw like the male models that they have on the cover books, like they went them, and I was like, you're about to rape this guy. And if this was a woman, you would be like screaming rape, but yet these guys are supposed to be consensually being raped by you because they were all over this guys and they were just like assault. I was just like, that just scared me because I am used to the world of consent. I am used to like you go up and ask permission. No, these were like, I am sexually repressed. I need to grab it. I need to, and they were like grabbing their junk and everything. I was just
Yeah.
like, you're short of raping this guy in front of me, and you think that's okay? And they're like, yeah, they're just that's what they're supposed to be. And I'm like, they have feelings. They're human. That was the creepiest, weirdest thing I've ever seen. These sexually repressed housewives.
Wow. You know what?
See?
It reminded me of something. I
Mm-hmm.
used to if I wasn't listening to Howard Stern, I used to listen to on satellite radio Tiffany Granith. Do you ever listen to Tiffany Granith?
No, I have not. I'm familiar with her.
Love her, but she had a thing on there where they talked about sexual fantasies of women, and I was shocked to find out that the number one sexual fantasy. Now, of course, this kind of goes the opposite of what you just told me, but women that get off on being raped. That was the number one. I'm going to be honest with you. I know a woman, I don't know if she still has it, but I met a woman that had that fantasy in her. I knew her husband, and her husband did not want to give her that fantasy. Of course, they're not together anymore, but but he didn't want to rape her, and she wanted to. And to me, it's not about being raped. It's about she wanted to be
She
give
wanted to
up
feel
control.
powerless. Yes, she wanted to feel
Yeah.
powerless. Someone else to feel power, and that's where that one I have done with couples. I've done it's called consensual non-consent. So they're consensually agreeing to a scene, but it's non-consensual at the same time, which is the rape scene. But it is working out the logistics, working out the details of that, because they do want to feel powerless. They don't want to be in control, because some wives, they think about it, and girlfriends, they take care of the household, they take care of the family, the needs. They're always in control, and they just want someone to just ravish them, devour them, and just take them however it is, and just not feel or do anything at all. But it's like, and just enjoy that, someone having power over them in kind of like a control environment, but not controlled, if that makes sense.
You know, that is interesting. Where was I going to go with that? Because
Tiffany.
oh yeah, I know where it was going. One of my favorite movies is Dressed to Kill. It's a Brian De Palma film.
Oh God, that's so old, man. You're talking oldies.
I love this movie. Yeah.
Oh, I love Brian De Palma stuff. He's just,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
he
And
really
one of
messes
my
with your mind.
I love Dressed to Kill.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because when this and this was years ago, this woman has told me this, but when I found out even too on the Tiffany Granith show, number one fantasy about a woman being raped, I didn't understand it. And then my mind went back to Dress to Kill.
Okay.
Because when you see the movie opening with that beautiful Pino Donaggio score, and it's so elegant, so you get the steam in the bathroom and whatnot, and you got Angie Dickinson in the shower, and it's totally erotic. You
Mhm.
see the close up, and she's rubbing the soap, and her husband is shaving,
Mhm.
and then suddenly a hand claps over her mouth and grabs her down there and lifts her up, and then she pulls the hand down, screams, and it cuts to her underneath her husband having bad sex in reality. So she was having a fantasy about this.
Mhm.
And when she goes to see Michael Caine, her therapist, uh, he says to her, he says, "Tell your husband the truth." And she goes, "Tell him that his our sex life stinks," and it's interesting because again, nobody wants to be raped.
Mhm.
Nobody wants to be.
No, they
But
don't.
Angie Dickinson's character in that movie was fascinating, and she took some bad risks in that movie. Yep, but nonetheless, she was a repressed housewife.
Right. And instead of being vocal and saying, hey, we're having bad sex, let's change it, let's experience, let's do something, she continues going down that rabbit hole of, almost getting killed.
Oh, she did.
I wasn't about to like ruin the movie for
Yeah,
everybody
but
else who
that
hasn't seen
happens
it.
midway through. That happens midway through. That happens like the halfway point. And then Nancy Allen comes in as an escort. I had Nancy Allen on here, but that brings up something else interesting. And this
Mhm.
brings me to not only this movie, but also Clute with Jane Fonda.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
Okay, it was 1971 movie. Alan Pakula directed it, and Jane Fonda won her first of two Oscars on it. But
Mhm.
she plays a call girl.
Mhm.
And there's a scene in it where she's having sex with somebody and she's having orgasm. And then you see her look at her watch, and then she go back to doing the orgasms. She's giving the guy guy does not realize that she's faking it, you know. And anyway, there's another scene where she goes and visits this elderly guy, and the only thing the elderly guy does is sit at a desk and she recites something. She's not even nude, I don't think, when she does it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I interviewed Nancy Allen, I brought up a scene where she went to, there's a scene where her character, Elizabeth Blake, goes to so-and-so from out of town.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks stunning. You don't see what happens. He invites her in, He told, because I interviewed the guy too. Brendan Maggart played the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He told me the scene that was cut from that.
Okay.
He said all the guy wanted was somebody to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just me and Nancy Allen. The scene got cut for pacing issues. And I found that fascinating too. Because, Nancy Allen looks stunning in this movie. And he just pays her to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Just like with the elderly guy in Jane Fonda. She just pays her to recite the stuff. He doesn't even touch her.
Yeah.
You ever,
you make a
yeah,
connection.
I
It's
find
you.
that fascinating,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've come across that in your,
A couple of my other clients, yes, it is that they're just looking for that, either cuddling, which is fully clothed, no sex, just wants to be touched, just
Mhm.
wants to be connected with another human, very platonic. They just want to have a conversation, go out to dinner, not even sexual. Yes, it is more common than people think.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is to accept it in society that you're paying someone just to be with you, but not have sex with you. What is wrong? Why can't you? Some people, they're introverts. They don't have any social skills and don't know how to properly ask. And actually had one client actually help them work through their social skills with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. I'm like, not what my coaching service really does, kind of does in that aspect, but it worked for them. It just like it helped them because I have that kind of personality that's very safe, very comforting and nurturing that, hey, yes, let's work through this and give me the confidence to speak up and ask or just socialize.
Here's something I haven't heard. I've never heard of it, but I wonder if you've ever heard of it.
Okay.
Of a bride and groom doing the cuckold thing on their honeymoon.
I've not personally experienced that or know of personally, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Because that's their honeymoon present.
Fascinating. What other stories do you have to share? I know Tommy Kovac is going to watch this.
What kind of stories do you want to hear?
Did Tommy ask you if you had an innie or outie at belly button?
I think he did. Yes,
Did
I
he?
have an innie. Yeah. And it's like, yeah. I mean, there's so much. I mean, one of my most horrid dates,
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you, like horrible dates, was that
Okay.
I went with this guy and the entire dinner I was playing therapist. He was talking about his wife, talking about how horrible the marriage is and and I'm like trying to give him, I'm like, okay, great. So after a while I felt bad for him. So yes, I did the pity sex with him, go into the hotel room, have it. And it was atrocious. The pity sex was so bad. He got super excited and then said, high five. I've never been high five after really bad sex.
So he went from being down to being up. You went from being up to being down.
It was down. I just thought if I gave him the pity sex, it would probably be somewhat good for him. But yeah, it was just the whole night was atrocious to me. So like I said, that was just the crown topper. It's like high five. I'm like, who the hell high five? Not even my teen years, in my teen, did I ever get high five for sex. And here, I think I can't even remember. I think it was in my early 40s or late 30s when this happened. I was just like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? Someone actually high five after really bad sex and could not understand why I said, get rid of my number. Don't ever call me. Like, could not understand that. I'm like, yeah, I played therapist and then had really bad sex. No, no. It's like if the sex was somewhat good, yeah, but no, it was just really bad. Really, really bad.
Here's a question. This is a fantasy question, though.
Hmm.
Celebrities, do one with that's either that's passed away and one current celebrity that if you had a chance to spend the night with sexually, who would it be?
Oh, and see, some people might think I'm kind of weird, but Vincent Price,
Okay.
totally.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Vincent Price and Jeremy Irons. I have an older guy
Okay.
fetish. It's like anytime I hear his voice, I'm just like the only reason I watched the Batman with Ben Affleck was because Jeremy Irons was in it, just not because of Ben Affleck. It was Jeremy
I
Irons.
find it funny how many people look down on couples with age gaps. And I'm
Yeah,
like, as long as the younger one is of age, who
yeah.
cares?
Who cares?
I
Well,
don't.
it's just people still think old school mentality. Like I'm Mexican. My cousins, we all grew up same 80s, 90s. But a lot of my cousins at 15 got married to 30 and 40-year olds.
Mhm.
And I'm like, why? They're like, well, that's what we're supposed to do. No, 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 no. It's like, that's not, but there's still some countries out there that they get married, but also, God bless America. You got some states that it's legal to get married at 14 too.
Well, for me, for celebrity passed away, Grace Kelly.
Yes.
That would be my pick.
Hmm.
Because I'll tell you, I get goosebumps every time I see that scene in Rear Window
Oh,
where
yeah.
he's asleep in the chair and her face is coming so close to him, and then slow motion, she kisses him awake. I'm like, that's how I wouldn't mind waking up like that.
Who doesn't? Anyway. Hmm.
And of course, in To Catch a Thief, she says to Cary Grant, he says, I know where your eyes are looking. Yeah. And she's not nude. She's just friggin' gorgeous, Grace
Hmm.
Kelly. Now, for a celebrity alive, I have a big Emma Stone crush.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll tell you something with Emma Stone. I don't go to the movies anymore to look at Emma Stone. I find her so fascinating in every role she does. Even watching her interviewed, she strikes me as somebody that would be cool to hang out with.
You like to go watch for the experience.
I'm not saying I don't like what I see,
Right.
you know. Do I get aroused by Emma Stone? Yeah.
Mhm.
But when you look at her and stuff like La La Land, Cruella, The Favorite, Super Bad, Easy A, Zombieland, they're all very different roles.
Mhm.
And she seems to tackle any genre. She
She is
does.
very diverse. Yes, I love that
I
about her.
like that. She and even like I've watched her in interviews, and she's very I think she's very funny. I think she's nice looking, but I think she's very funny. Um, but Emma Stone would be my pick. I also like Anna Kendrick a lot too. Pitch Perfect.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I like Emma Stone. Emma Stone's cool. But yeah, those would be my two picks. Yeah, there. I'm gonna bring into my next section because this is one I don't understand,
Okay.
and I'm trying not to be judgmental on this one. And I guess maybe one of the first cases I've seen of this is in The Shining. You know where I'm going with this.
It's been so many years since I've seen The Shining.
Furries.
What's so wrong about furries?
I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I'm saying I don't understand it. People dressing up as animals, and this whole thing with My Little Pony, I don't understand it. I really don't get it. Because when I
It's
was growing up in the 70s and 80s, My Little Pony was a little toy for young girls. Now you see guys that are right into it.
so you're
My
not a
my
brony?
huh?
You're not a brony?
No, no.
That's what they call the guys who are into My Little Ponies. They call them bronies.
And again, I'm trying my best not to be judgmental. If somebody's into that, all the power to them. Again, this is from my end. I don't understand it.
What is your escape from reality?
My escape from reality?
What is your escape from reality? How do you disconnect completely? How you shut down the world completely?
You want me to tell you the only answer I have for that?
Mm-hmm.
Is doing stuff like this.
Exactly.
I love doing this, or even going to Toronto to the cons. I like doing that.
And that's what a furry or a brony or anybody else is. This is their way of shutting down from reality and escaping from it. They're in their own little world, all peaceful, all like someone else is in control. They have no responsibilities, and that's how they shut it down. Like a superhero would go, Clark Kent get out of his suit and has Superman suits. That's what furries do. That they come in their comfort zone and their world that they create, that they feel safe and secure and protected. And that is their escape from reality.
Furries is one thing, but why My Little Pony? Like, what's the fascinating? Like, to me, I can see a guy getting his girlfriend to dress up as Wonder Woman or Tila from Masters of the Universe or She-Ra or any of those other superheroes, or even Catwoman or something. I see that. I don't like, I get the sex appeal there. I don't understand how My Little Pony went from a girl's plaything, young girl's plaything, to being sexually appealing to guys. Walk me through that.
It's not sexually appealing. Again,
Oh,
you're going back with the sexual eroticizing.
okay.
It's not eroticizing. It's not sexual. Is that
Okay.
escape from reality? It is finding that little security blanket in your life that gives you joy and happiness and helps you escape from, let's see, gun violence, Roe versus Wade, all the politics. Let's go down how the shitstorm is right now in the current society.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I ask you, what is your escape from reality?
Well, as I think, again, I'm not trying to be judgmental.
No, you're not. And I'm trying to explain why they do
it's just I'm trying to understand.
Right.
That's one of the great things about having you on here today. Is because I know Tommy Kovac will. I've had talks with him, and Tommy's pretty open about stuff. He and he's a lot more daring about it than me. But I find a lot of stuff, and again, it goes back to the psyche.
Yes, it does.
Again, the brony thing's something it's not something I'm into, but I try to understand the psyche of people that are. And I'm a guy that listens to Howard Stern. I'll tell you, he's had some interesting stuff go on his show.
Exactly. But it's like, you think about it, you're not understanding why someone's into bronies. Like, I don't understand who the hell's into Halo and blowing up shit, video games. I don't get it. I don't understand why you're doing that. Or someone who plays golf. Why are you going to hit a ball for like 18 holes and you're doing absolutely nothing? Well, it's
don't you love how George Carlin addressed that?
Oh, I love George Carlin. Rest in peace.
George Carlin was on Comic Relief, and he was it was for raise funds for homelessness, and he goes he talks about golf. He says golf is an arrogant sport. Just think of the brains it takes. He's like, think of it for a second. Look at the size of the golf course. The ball is this fucking big. Arrogant and boring. Ever watched golf on TV? It's like watching flies fuck. Boring and mindless. He says, think of the brains it takes to play golf. Hitting a ball with a crooked stick and then walking after it and then hitting it again. It's like, Hey, put it in your pocket, asshole. You're lucky you found it. I'm sorry I had to recite that because that was so freaking funny. George
Or
Carlin was brilliant.
oh, he was, because a lot of his material can apply to today. Like his, let's end the homeless situation. It's great. You know how it ended? 40 acres of golf course. There you go. That's how we end it. We get rid of this 40 acres of golf course because it's a mindless sport. There's nothing to get accomplished. We're wasting this land, which we could use it on the homeless. George Carlin, rest in peace.
Although I gotta admit, I do love Caddyshack, though. It's one of my favorite comedies. But I
I
don't
love
play.
that gopher.
Oh yeah, love I actually got that gopher here around here somewhere packed in. This was supposed to be a temporary location for me, until I get into. I'm supposed to have do a housing project where my brother and his wife live upstairs, and me and my kitty live downstairs. And we have like solar panels and stuff like that in the house, and so this was supposed to be a temporary spot for me. But I've been here since 2020. But a lot of my stuff is still like a lot of the books I told you about.
Yep.
They're still packed away, and my gopher is somewhere. But I had Cindy Morgan on here from that movie, so
Wow.
yeah, she was Lacey Underholt. What an interesting name for character. But yeah, but there is so much people that are into voyeuring, people risking getting caught. I actually know somebody. It wasn't me. Well,
Sure.
that would
I
involve
believe it.
that would involve a woman actually touching me, and I'm too repulsive to them. But I know somebody who had sex at a movie theater with his girlfriend.
Mhm.
And
And
I know when this was because I know what movie they saw. So it was in 1995.
okay,
Know what movie they were having sex at?
I'm curious. Was it Little Mermaid?
Close. Toy Story.
Nice.
Having sex in the theater watching Toy Story. I'm like, really? Really?
Must have been, half empty theater for them to do that.
Although it's interesting you bring up Little Mermaid, because there is that line of dialogue in American Pie where they mention Little Mermaid. When you look at Little Mermaid, really, as almost a half-naked cartoon female.
If you got the Laserdisc version of Little Mermaid and
Yeah,
also Who Framed Roger Rabbit,
I've
if you
got Who
go
Framed Roger Rabbit, not on Laserdisc though.
exactly, it had to be Laserdisc because that's the only way you could go frame by frame. Those two movies, Little Mermaid, her shells are gone. Like if you go frame by frame, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, when the baby stroller goes through the lady's between the lady's legs, in the laser disc, you could actually see it go up and see the full vulva. I wish I kept my laser disc.
Who let that go?
Now you see why Laserdisc is no longer around, because they were able to do a lot more uncensored stuff in that. That's like, I still have the Little Mermaid with the penis in the castle. I have that VHS tape. I wish I kept the poster. I used to have the poster too to that, but I lost
what
that.
it reminds me of? That scene in Fight Club where they talk about where Brad Pitt worked. He worked at a movie theater, and he says, spliced in porn into family movies. And he said, the parents and the kids at the theater don't know what they're really seeing going on, and then you got them, all the adults in the theater, looking at each other as you're hearing groans and moans. I get the feeling there's some people in some of these working at some of these studios that
oh yes I used to know I used to know quite a bit of the animators here at MGM Studios when they used to make the animation film by hand here. And they would tell me some of the secrets, some of the stuff. That's why.
Why would they do it? Is it something like getting back at the hierarchy, or what is it?
Some of them just to see if they could get away with, to see if someone notices, or just to the Little Mermaids, because it was a disgruntled animator. They actually did fire him towards the end of the project, and that's why that happened. and everything was, they got the approval, but they submitted something else, and that's where it went with. Also in Lion King, I think it's also the Laserdisc. Actually, when you see the dust cloud, someone actually wrote sex in it. So they do it for shits and giggles or disgruntled. So many different reasons. So yeah.
Did you ever see Fritz the Cat?
No.
Oh, I like that one. That one's directed by Ralph Bakshi. I had him on here a couple times. Let me see. I got it here. I can show it to you. It's right. Fritz the Cat. Here it is. Come out the year I was born, but it's the first X-rated animation, and it's friggin' hilarious.
Oh my God. That is hysterical that it did make it to a Blu-ray disc. Wow.
Well, it was actually a movie released in the theater too. It was based on a Robert Crumb comic. Ralph Bakshi's a director. I've had him on here a couple times. He did Cool World. I'm sure you heard of that one.
Of course.
Yeah. But I'll tell you one thing. Not only is it X-rated, but boy, the themes they tackle in this movie are
Well, it was
really
the
interesting.
70s. Didn't I say you could get away with so much in the 70s?
Yep, they tackle race. They tackle the whole sexual revolution, all that stuff. Fritz is a cool character, though. Let's go see if Skittles agreed with me, but he's pretending to sleep over there. I said, Skittles, we're going to watch this. You're going to get educated. He didn't care.
Nope. I was like, yeah, there's no education to that. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you should check out Fritz the Cat. It's pretty fun. It's pretty interesting. Well, is there you got a website you want to plug on here?
Yes, everyone could visit my website at sexpositiveme.com. That's also where you can find our podcast on all podcasting listening stations. Date Night with the Lunas is actually a YouTube channel, but that we broadcast live. So, but the YouTube is also Sex Positive Me. We're available all over on social media, except for Instagram. It is SPM the Lunas because Instagram is just a brat. So that's why we kind of censored that one.
I gotta subscribe to your YouTube. Yeah, so I can hear about all this interesting stuff that you talk about. You talk about a lot of the stuff that we were talking about on here.
That and more. So, and we actually broadcast live at 7:00 every Monday on, like I said, YouTube, Facebook, BFAM 109.6. And then also if you're a member of SDC, which is the swinging dating site, where we broadcast live there too.
Yeah, I'm not a member of that site, but I gotta subscribe to your YouTube. I bet you Tommy Kovac subscribed to it.
I think he did. Like, actually, he subscribed to my personal one, my Miss Angelique Luna, which I really haven't done much on that. So, but yeah, everything's on Sex Positive Me.
Tommy's cool. I like I said, I've known him for a long time, and I gotta say, special shout out to Tommy Kovac for connecting me on this interview. This has been pretty interesting. You know, it hasn't been none of it was dull, and you certainly brought a lot of insight to stuff, questions I had, and some of the, like I said, they could make a comedy out of some of the stuff.
Yes, a lot of the topics, absolutely.
Well, look, one of the biggest missed opportunities I found in a movie, and this movie so disappointed me, was Sex Tape with
oh God,
Jason,
that was so, yes.
Cameron Diaz and Jason Segel, and it was such a bullshit movie. Because they tease you with that title. It's not that I was going to see Sex Tape, but could you imagine back in the 1970s, you could see Woody Allen and Diane Keaton having a field day in those roles, and it being funny as well as sophisticated.
Right.
And Sex Tape was just garbage, you know?
It all depends on the script writer.
Yeah, well, that one didn't have one. Not a good one. I know that. Yeah. Now, do you have any charities that you want to plug on here and promote?
Here in Central Florida, the Victim Service Center,
Mhm.
they handle a lot of like the rape, sexual violence advocacy. So I do try to do as much as possible, especially with their annual Cheers for Change charity event that they always do in April in support for Sexual Awareness Month.
Okay. Well, here's my last question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot. Speaking of movies, I guess this one won't be on your list. I would have thought this
No,
would have been number one.
yeah, no.
Actually, you'll probably find this funny because it is funny.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. But nonetheless, what are your, and I'm talking mainstream movies. Talk about, I need, if you can, your top 5 best erotic scenes in movies.
Oh, forget that. I no, I can't tell
Come
you those.
on.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, because there's really not that many that really have got me that, erotic scenes. Now you really put me in the hot because
Mhm.
I usually watch comedies.
Well, they have it in comedies.
Really? Comedy scenes? Like, yeah, okay.
You didn't find
Uh,
John Belushi watching the pillow fight through the window in Animal House? Erotic.
oh God. Or the Revenge of the Nerds trying to have sex and they can't even do it. It's like,
You mean to tell me you didn't like it when Steve Martin and the jerk come out there and he had to lift the dog up to cover himself up? Where are you, Marie? Picks up this poor dog and covers his ass up.
no. I pass on that question.
You pass on that question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. I thought you would let us know what movies out there you found particularly erotic. I know 50 Shades of Grey is not on that list. I wouldn't blame you on that one.
No, not at all. Not at that one. I mean, 9.5 weeks, definitely the food scene that's
That
really
was funny to me.
see, and I just thought it was very sensual, just the way with the song and the way the
Well,
music and
that's
everything.
not the thing. The song, the news
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah.
bread and butter. I think that scene was funny because of the song. Although that's got to be a hell of a mess to clean up. I tell you that. Shit.
Yeah.
At
So
least
we
take the house coat off. I mean, oh my goodness! I imagine putting that in the laundry.
no, that's going to dry clean. It's like you explain that to the dry cleaners.
Oh my goodness, Jeepers, I went out in my house coat to bring some because I just cleaned the cat litter box and I wanted to get the stench out. So I bagged it up and I put it in the rest of my garbage. And I just put my slippers on, had my house coat on, and I stepped outside and it was starting to sprinkle out.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, I gotta get to the dumpsters that are way over there. And the only thing going through my head was, I don't want my house coat getting all drenched and wet. I was like, yeah, I couldn't imagine covering it in honey. Anyway, my house coat is fine. It was fine. It didn't downpour. And I scared a couple of raccoons when I put them out there. They were in the dumpster.
Poor raccoons. They got a show.
Oh yeah, yeah. I threw that stuff in there and they were, oh, tailing her out of there. But yeah, I've been delighted to have you on here today. This has been a lot of fun.
It's a pleasure. I enjoyed myself. Thank you for having me.
Yes, a special shout out to Tommy Kovac. Tell
Thanks,
Tommy Kov,
Tommy.
tell Tommy Kovac you love him.
Yes, I love you, Tommy. You know that.
Yeah, yeah. And before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Okay.
Just state who you are, and if you want to throw your website in there as well, and then say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Okay.
Go for it.
Hey everyone, it's Miss Angelique Luna from Sex Positive Me. I'd like to give a shout out to Greg Gilbert from Python. I forgot. Sorry.
Paradise.
Paradise. Oh my God.
I'm DJ Python.
That's what got me confused. The DJ Python and Python Paradise.
Yeah.
Okay, take two. Hey everyone, it's Miss Angelique Luna from Sex Positive Me here on Greg Gilbert's Python Paradise podcast.
Absolutely. This has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed doing this, and I'll be honest, I didn't do a whole lot of research coming in here because I had kind of an idea of where I wanted to go. And I love freestyling an interview like this, you know? So this has been a lot of fun. You've been very informative. I learned a few things from you, you know? So yeah, I think it's great. And I hope nobody listening felt judged, including the bronies. I have nothing against you. I'm just
Don't
trying.
yuck on others' yum.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand psyche. It's just like, you know, I'll give you an example. I love pineapple on pizza. There are people that don't understand me liking pineapple on pizza.
I know that is such an atrocity, honestly. I can't see pineapple on pizza.
I love it.
It's a
It's
crime.
my number one pick for pizza. But you know what? It kind of reminds me of that with some of these sexual activities people have, like the friggin' water sports and scat. So it was scat you called it, the shitting one?
Yeah.
I don't get that. But I don't think I have to get it, really.
No, you don't.
I don't
what we
have
say.
to.
Don't yuck on someone's yum. Just respect it.
It's just like some people like 50 Shades of Grey and Twilight, and actually that's worse than water sports and scat. Okay, we won't go into that. I think most people would much rather be shit on than watching those.
I actually knew a few people like that. I was like, okay, that's a little bit too extreme, but okay, I got your point.
Yeah. Well, Angelique, love your name, cool name, keep that. And I wish you the best. And yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for educating me. I feel wiser after being on here today.
Thank you for
and
having me.
I don't say that as a mockery. I mean, I think I've learned a few things today.
I hope so. I always like to leave someone with new nuggets in their lives.
This has been interesting. This has been interesting. But anyway, now just if David McManus would just get the cuckold Uncharted out, then I could read the Return of the Jedi of
cuckolding.
Of cuckolding, you know, get the whole thing together. But nonetheless, God bless you. Thank you so much for coming on here today.
Thank you. Have a good one. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.